From the ECSI Sports Studios and the #1 sports investors in America, we bring you the closing bell. As the market closes, legends Jeff Dawson and Riley Magnuson bring you all the sports investing tips for tonight's matchups. If you want to learn more from the two legends at the desk, make sure you stay tuned to the closing bell.
ECSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app.
Good afternoon, sports fans from all around the globe. This is East Coast Sports Investors Closing Bell for Thursday, March 28th. I am your solo host for this evening, doing a short, quick, and easy show on this fine Thursday evening for some Sweet 16 talk, 4 games in college basketball. Not going to do too much else other than that. The majority of the opening day baseball slate is up and running right now. 4 games. We can look at them a little bit, but trying to stay away for the most part from opening day. Might have a little bit of a prop or something like that at the end of the show for a little bit of fun. But nonetheless, not going to do too much crazy stuff there. But shout out to anyone who was able to get ahead of the game and get some fun in there and action for opening day, because it's obviously a marathon. And if you had the day to sit back and watch a lot of these games, there's seems like probably about 10 games going on right now. So obviously a lot of fun. No games completed so far. A lot of these games are still the first half of the contest. Only one that's really got any type of significant runs going on in Baltimore. That is 5-1 there. But aside from that, like I said, we'll touch on these. I think there's 4 games left this evening. A couple, or one of them on ESPN national television at least. There we can talk about. Couple of them postponed for tomorrow on the East Coast there with the weather going on. So we'll get in, and get out. We've got, like I said, 4 March Madness games going on. I think only 2 NBA games. Nothing too crazy there. There's a 16.5 spread with Boston. We talked about, I want to say that was 2, maybe Monday, giant slate and some absurd spreads. Some of those teams ended up covering those double-digit spreads. 3 or 4 of them, these double-digit favorites lost outright. So like I said, was very hard to pick out which ones were the fishy ones and the ugly ones there. It was just a lot of inflated lines. But when you see a load 10, 15 games on an NBA slate, and they all look like, they're double-digit spreads for regardless of whoever it is, it's a little something to scratch your head at. And, you got to have a fine-tooth comb to figure out which ones are covering, which ones are losing outright. And it was obviously a whirlwind there. So hopefully you stayed, maybe you cashed on a big underdog there. I know the Wizards won, the Hawks won, the Spurs beat the Suns. So there were some big upsets on Monday. That was obviously a few days ago, though. But we're here to talk about all things Sweet 16, my friends. 4 games. Still got 2.5, 3 hours until they get started here. Clemson, Arizona being the first one. San Diego State, UConn. Illinois, Iowa State. I'm sorry, that's the last one. Alabama, UNC is the other one, and then Illinois, Iowa State there. So, and we'll have something going on tomorrow for the 4 games. Tomorrow, some type of show, so stay tuned for that one as well. Before we get into that, want to thank our wonderful partner over here, WagerWire. If you were here at the beginning of the show, you saw that ad. Fantastic people, fantastic app, fantastic X follow. Go follow them on X. Go download their app off the App Store. Going to make you a smarter bettor. You can track your bets. You can even sell some of your bets in certain cases there. Some of their stuff on X, they give you some interesting analytics and interesting data to consider there. So definitely go check them out on X if you want to just get your feet wet a little bit. And then I'm sure after looking through them a little bit, you'll be interested in checking out their app. But I recommend just diving deep and getting that app and familiarizing yourself and trying to get integrated with that. So definitely go and check them out. Want to thank them as always, as we always do. So as I say, going to be short and sweet. We've got 4 games here tonight. The first one up, let's dive right into it. Clemson and Arizona. As I'm looking at it right now, I believe we have this one, for the most part, this one had been staying around 7.5 in a lot of cases on the spread in Arizona's favor, obviously, for most of the week, most of the day, teetering to 7 in a little bit every once in a while here. But now I'm starting to see 7 for the most part, and some spots have it at 6.5 here in Arizona's favor, so dipping down a little bit. This one is the second biggest spread of the night, obviously, with UConn being the biggest one. The total was a little interesting to me with 152.5. These two teams, obviously, Clemson playing above expectations in a lot of people's mind. Underdogs as a 6 seed against New Mexico, take care of business easy. Only 4.5-point underdogs after that in a transition to a 3 seed Baylor. So getting a lot more respect in that one, and obviously got the job done there. Arizona barely fails to cover against Long Beach State, wins by 20. Takes care of business against Dayton, wins by 10 on the 8.5, 9.5-point spread there. So they're teetering right on that edge of some of these spreads here. So this one is obviously very important. You either are buying Clemson to stay alive and continue this nice play that they're on, or you think they come back down to earth a little bit here. I've been a believer of Clemson for the majority of the season. The problem with them is that they haven't been able to string this many wins along for the most part of the season. Outside of that, obviously, early non-conference schedule that they had. Obviously, these games are non-conference, so if it's as simple as that, then obviously we're cooking with gas on Clemson. But since about January, they really haven't been able to string these winning streaks together like this more than what they obviously this 2-game win streak right here. That they had a 3-game win streak a couple times in February, against a weaker schedule there. So at the end of the day, I kind of agree with where the spread is at. Like I said, I've been a believer in Clemson for the most part here. This one has been a tough one. A lot of questions going around about Arizona and their spreads these last couple of months here. But at the end of the day, this total was kind of speaking to me as one that had been a little bit high, in my opinion, kind of a statement as far as being a little high and maybe one that you consider going over. These two teams, all of their games in March in the tournament so far have been going to the under. Arizona, a nice little undercover streak here. Their total had been dipping. So now in a spot where this one's kind of on the higher end for a Clemson game, kind of right around where Arizona typically lives, but after they've been going under so many times, you might want to consider this one going over. I could see some points being scored in this one, a little bit faster-paced game. Teams well-rested, well-accustomed to this stage now after last weekend. So I'm kind of torn on the spread here. I've been believing in Clemson to kind of be a team that can obviously cover a spread like this if I'm believing in them. But at the end of the day, they could come back down to earth. But where I'm looking at really is this total and potentially going over the 152.5. So that is my play that I'm considering making into this one. And this game is the first one up in L.A. So I'm going to some points, going to the over 152.5 here to start things off. Let's see, what's the next one? UConn and San Diego State. This one is a tough one for me. UConn is obviously the better team in this one. This is a rematch of the national championship game. And I say it's tough because UConn 11.5, 12-point favorites. This is the largest spread, unless I'm drawing a blank tomorrow. This is the largest spread of the weekend, of Thursday, Friday. We'll see what happens over the weekend. But of these 8 games today and tomorrow, the thing is they've had a cover streak of I don't know how many games in the March Madness tournament, and so now you're pulling it up, and everyone's geared up, ready for Thursday night UConn to lay the wood down on San Diego State. I am not saying that they can't do that. They could win this game by 20, 30 points. I'm just saying that this spread is probably and certainly has to be inflated at least a couple of points, just because the average person is going to try and ride this streak. Now, if you've been on this streak, as we typically say since the beginning or near the beginning, then go ahead and keep riding it out. But if you're sitting here and you're saying, I need to catch a piece of this train, I've missed the boat on the last, whatever it is now, 7-8 games of UConn covering in the NCAA tournament. That's just these last few years. I don't know what happened, previous to this past year, but the majority of people are going to be on UConn. Again, this is not to say that UConn can't win by 15, 20, 30 points. I'm not saying they can't do that. I am just saying this line is a little bit inflated because this team is on obviously a crazy hot streak of covering all of their NCAA tournament games in recent memory here, where they go on to win the national championship, and now they win a couple games this year by a zillion points. So again, I'm bewaring on it. I'm not getting in front of the train, as we like to say in these parts. I'm not necessarily getting in front of the train. I'm just saying that this is a train that if you haven't been on it for whatever, like I said, 6, 7, whatever games in a row, you can't just hop in right now and try to get a piece of the pie. So that is why this one is becoming difficult, because UConn is that good, and they can be, they should be a 9.5, 10-point favorite. So again, I'm not trying to steer you away from it. If that's where your heart is set and you think UConn is that much better, then go ahead. You just have to know the context and know that UConn is a little inflated tonight. So I'm going to leave this one be. I'm not going to touch this one. I would love to see a close game, obviously, for the sake of entertainment here. San Diego State's obviously playing really well. Ran into New Mexico, who at the time in the Mountain West tournament was playing really well. Obviously did not look very good against Clemson, but you understand what I'm saying. But aside from that, they've been playing really well. UConn obviously playing even better with with their run that they've been on, not only this year but going back to last year. But again, the number is inflated, so you have to be a little bit aware of that one. 137.5 on the game total. UConn has actually been kind of an under team lately. Same thing, I shouldn't say same thing, but a little back and forth, a little bit here and there for San Diego State. Their numbers are kind of all over the place typically. So this total is kind of more of a San Diego State, typical for a San Diego State game, the total there. But we obviously know UConn can play a zillion different styles. So I'm going to go ahead and lean on with everyone expecting UConn to put up 1 million points, and this one's still kind of being under that 140 spot there. I'm going to go and lean towards the under, but this one is more of a lean on this one. I'm not in love with this by any means. I'm just going to lean on 137, kind of going against the public on that one. This is a public over, if you will, here. So if you're a fade the public person and on a big night like this, then you're probably going San Diego State and the under here. I do like San Diego State's cover in this one just because it is inflated. Whenever that is a situation, that is where I'm going to lean. And as far as the total is concerned, that one is more of a, maybe a fair line, but you've got the public all over the over, expecting UConn to put up 80, 90 points here. So that is where I'm leaning. I am leaning towards the under. Again, not trying to get in front of the UConn train. This under, though, I could see this one staying under and being a 70-60 type game, and we've got this one landed at 10 and right at 130 there. That's kind of where what my instincts are telling me, but I could be very wrong. UConn could win by a zillion, and this one could go flying over. But those ones are a little bit more of a lean there. Next couple of games here, Alabama-UNC. UNC 4.5-point favorites, the 1 seed obviously in that region. This one is the other game in LA there. Alabama, a very erratic team, I guess you would say. A wild game against Grand Canyon. Crazy high-scoring game against Charleston, where they take care of business and cover. Managed to cover both of those games. UNC, obviously, great game against Wagner. Not so great first half against Michigan State, but a fantastic second half against Michigan State and pulled away there. UNC is just going to have to be really good for all 40 minutes in this one. If they start slow like they did against Michigan State, then this one could be a dangerous little zone for them here. I have been I got to choose my words carefully. Not a believer in Alabama because they could absolutely crash and burn. But when they're at their best and when they're playing well, they are very, very good and can beat anybody. I am kind of leaning towards Alabama to have a really nice night here. The total 173.5 is obviously kind of right around where they were. Alabama's games were so far these first two. I think a lot of people are probably expecting this one to fly over. I'm not saying I'm leaning towards the under, but I do think it'll be actually right a little bit closer right around the 173. You had the first one going, 20, 30 points over. The second one, and I'm talking about Alabama's games here, with it being a number that's very similar to their games, and then a 133 going 30, 40 points under. So I'm going to lean towards the total actually kind of fitting in right closer to where this number is. This one's obviously a lot higher than UNC's typically in for. But I'm gonna go with this one being a good game. I'm leaning on Alabama to cover. This one could be a close game, and UNC could win. But I'm leaning on Alabama to cover. I'm leaning on their offense to still work in this one. And UNC, who is very good, don't get me wrong. If they come out of the gates and it's a 15 to 5 start for UNC, then I might be a little nervous. But I think it could be the other way around, and Alabama smacks them in the mouth early, and UNC's kind of scrambling there. So I'm going to lean towards Alabama in this one, plus the 4.5. Out of that one, we can get out of there short and sweet. The last one of the night, Illinois, Iowa State. Obviously, I am a little biased in this one. Hand up, I'm a Big Ten guy. I'm an Illinois guy. But this one is a coin flip. I've been excited for this game just as a basketball fan because I think this is going to be a fantastic game. Iowa State 2.5-point favorite for a large majority of the week here. Now down to 1.5. I don't know at what point that one turned down to or flipped down to 1.5. Like I said, it was at 2.5 for a good chunk this week, maybe even 2 for a little bit, and then maybe 1.5 for the last 24 hours or so. The total 147.5. I'm not saying that's an Illinois total and that means Illinois is going to win. That's not necessarily what I'm saying at all. But this total is obviously much more in the range that Illinois kind of lives at. Again, that doesn't mean Iowa State can't hang with that and score points with them. But that total does, is more indicative of where Illinois typically plays at. All their last 3 of their games have been right at 147. They've all gone over to give you some context there. So this one is one that I'm obviously torn on the spread because I think Iowa State is a very good team, very tough defensive team. Interested to see how they handle the scores that Illinois has. But as far as that total is concerned, I'm kind of leaning towards the under with, Illinois having 3 straight games at 147, and now we turn around at 147.5, and the majority of the bets that I've seen at least are on the over. So I'm going to lean towards the under on this one as well, but I think this one could be really close to that number there. This one could be, if I had to pick one game to go to, obviously it's easy to say when it's a 1.5-point spread and the others are a little bit more than that, but if I had to pick one game that could go to overtime, it would be this one. But nonetheless, I am kind of leaning towards the under 147 here. I think this one is going to be a really closely contested game. If Iowa State's, controlling the pace and causing problems for Illinois defensively, then they might run up the score themselves and be able to score some points there. So I'm not opposed to Iowa State's, scoring some points here, and maybe that's the reason they win. But at the end of the day here, I'm a little torn on this one. I'm a little biased. So take my words on an Illinois game with a grain of salt at this point as I get my fandom creeping in a little bit more here the closer they get to the Final Four and whatnot. So would love a Jeff Dawson versus myself UConn-Illinois matchup in the next round, but maybe we can be so lucky. So I don't feel like I'm helping as much on this one just because I am a little biased here. But at the end of the day, this is going to be an awesome game. It does feel weird that this is a 9 o'clock game, 10 o'clock game on the East Coast played in Boston. But obviously these teams are Midwest teams, but still it does feel a little off. But nonetheless, a lot of people are off for Good Friday, so hopefully you can stay up and watch this one. That about does it for tonight's Sweet 16. Like I said, somebody will try and, whether it's Jeff or both of us or myself tomorrow, talking about tomorrow's games and potentially previewing the 2 games that will, result on Saturday from what we have here. So stay tuned for that. Obviously, I did say closing thoughts. I'm going to give out one baseball prop for you. We like to give out some home run props if we don't give out any actual thoughts here. So MLB game of the night on ESPN here tonight. Cubs at the Rangers. Give me, from the Texas Rangers, Mr. Corey Seager, plus 330 for a bomb. Will I be watching it? I don't know. If I'm somewhere where it's got multiple TVs and we got more than enough for basketball and baseball, then sure, I'll be watching it and I'll be rooting for it. But at the end of the day, we've got Sweet 16 that I'm going to be locked into tonight. So Corey Seager to hit a bomb is where I'm going tonight if I'm doing any home run props in baseball, my friends. And that about does it. Hopefully my White Sox can exceed my expectations tenfold, and I will be a lot more excited on a day-to-day basis to talk baseball. Not that I won't show up and do it anyways, but my motivations and my love for the sport are in question because of my team's inability to be a competent franchise. But I'm ranting and I'm projecting all my disappointment and sadness in the baseball world on you guys. So I apologize. It is opening day. I am excited for it. I promise. It is the weather's turning in a lot of places. Obviously, there's a couple nasty spots, but a lot of places are turning around here. So let's get geared up for some baseball. These networks have some fantastic baseball content. I will get myself in a much more motivated and jolly spot when talking about baseball going forward and push out my White Sox. But whether it's Jeff Dawson, Scotty Weber, or a lot of the other people we got some great baseball people in these channels. So always keep us on your list to watch for some baseball content going forward throughout the season. So without further ado, hope you had some fun talking some college basketball here today in the Sweet 16 games. Check us out. Be on the lookout for what we got going on tomorrow. I don't know the full schedule off the top of my head, but be on the lookout for, I assume, multiple shows tomorrow on top of a show involving myself and potentially Jeff talking tomorrow night Sweet 16. But we'll keep you posted, and we'll have some content out tomorrow. So thank y'all for stopping by. Best of luck today on the Sweet 16, whether you got some action, whether you got one of your own teams in there. I hope you have some fun and some success, and you come back tomorrow with your pockets full or a smile on your face because your team won. That's what I hope for. So thank y'all for stopping by. I am going to go ahead and get out of here, enjoy some baseball, and enjoy some games. We will see y'all later.